Welcome to this review of the QKZ x HBB Khan. Thank you to HBB for sending this out. I'm very excited to give this a listen. It's something I've been looking forward to for a while now. The box is a little bit wet because of environmental conditions, but it looks really premium for $39, not gonna lie. This is way better than the Choose packaging, for example. I think that this high-res audio parity is pretty funny. We have a frequency response graph on the back. It looks very good personally. Maybe some slight sub-bass roll-off. And I'm not sure how the treble dip is going to be in reality. But yeah, for $39, I'm really impressed by this packaging and the graph. Let's get it unboxed and see how it sounds. We have this interesting triangular pattern. I think that's the QKZ logo or something. Yeah, it appears to be a different take on the QKZ logo. Man, this really is just so interesting. Like, I keep getting shocked by the packaging. Like, we have this gold coin. This is really just amazing packaging, honestly. The future of audio. What even is this thing? Is this like, if this is seriously a chocolate coin, I'm gonna be okay. Good, it's not chocolate. Okay, it's just a gold coin that says QKZ audio all over this side, and then HBB audio all over this side. I don't know why, but this unboxing experience is just bringing a smile to my face. It's been so unique. I've never, like, have you ever unboxed anything like this? I don't know. I personally haven't, but yeah. Hopefully this doesn't completely spoil the unboxing experience for you guys if you do decide to get this earphone. We have a white case that looks a little bit dirty. I don't know why, but some markings on it. Pretty sturdy case, obviously, though. How do you open this thing? Okay. Not my favorite case. Don't really like the material. It kind of pokes into your skin when you're opening it. Not the biggest deal, though, I guess. Okay, and we have the cable and the tips in this case. And lastly, we have the earphones. Okay, hopefully the largest tips fit me. These IMs are actually bigger than I expected. Yep, large fits me fine. The cable is a bit sticky. Maybe this will go away with use, but not too bad other than that. It's definitely not going to be the best measuring cable, but who really cares? That's what this IM comes with. And I don't know what the impedance curve of this earphone is anyways. All right, let us get some first impressions. This is so funny, just trying to listen to this now. Okay. What song should I play? We Were Never Ever Ever Getting Back Together by Taylor Swift. Not the Taylor's version, let's go to the original version. Okay, so I EQ'd my variations to this IM, and yes, this was with inverted polarity, but one thing that comes across when listening to these in person versus that EQ is that the treble is more veiled than my EQ was, because I EQ'd based on HBB's graph, which did not have this treble dip, and I'm assuming based on what I'm hearing that there is an actual treble dip in this earphone. There is a slight treble hole, but it does come back up at around 11 kilohertz, so I don't know. It does start kind of early, actually, though. Like, why is it starting at 8 kilohertz? It's weird. And yeah, I guess that makes sense. But man, does this earphone sound excellent. The bass sounds as good as I expected, if not better. The soundstage is tremendously wide. This is one of the things I was really interested about in this earphone. The ear gain region is scooped up more than on the variations. This gives the illusion of a high-mid scoop. It does sound lower fidelity, but is really enjoyable. It's so good, except it's just missing the last octaves of resolution, really. This just needs one more driver in the upper treble to be near perfection. Anyways, I'm going to graph this real quick, and I'll get back to you after that. Okay, so I've measured the QKZ x HBB Khan. There's something weird going on in the bass in this measurement, but when I inserted it deeper, that went away. And to my ears, the bass sounds pretty normal. Honestly, I don't really hear that much going on that's weird. I'm kind of curious about the treble though, because if you insert it deeper, this 8 kilohertz gets dipped more, and I don't know what exactly is going on, but I just don't hear the treble quality being as smooth as the variations. I can audibly hear resolution missing in the treble. In both measurements, we can see a clear and distinct dip. And here we have the important comparison versus diffuse field, which is a flathead related transfer function that is independent of direction and allows you to compare to speaker targets. We have my target overlaid as well. And honestly, the bass impact is not bad at all. It sounds pretty normal. This high mid scoop is one interesting part because, well, yes, it does come across as extra soundstage. It is low fidelity at the end of the day. Like, I'm listening to it and things sound too distant, but I can get used to it. And this treble is notably too bright. For example, on 10:1 in real, okay, it played on my computer speakers for some reason. What the heck? Okay, wasn't plugged in. All right, there we go. It's a little bit too sibilant. And the vocals are too recessed. Like, I keep trying to get them to come closer, but it's just weird. Watch some music videos and see how the realism is. And one thing to keep in mind is that when looking at this graph, you might think that the upper treble is the same level as the variations, but you have to keep in mind that the lower to mid treble is boosted compared to the variations. So if you match at like 6 kilohertz, you can see that this dip, if that's what it is, becomes more prominent. I don't think that this peak is actually audible. I'm not sure. Okay, so at 11 kilohertz, the Q is high. Then it pretty much vanishes after that, actually, audibly. Let's compare that to the variations. Yeah, there's actually 0 high Q peaking here. It's super smooth, like, oh my god. And the treble extends way further than it does in the QKZ X HBB Khan. 711 measurements are not the most accurate after 8 kilohertz, but I can clearly tell you here that you're getting much better treble resolution on the variations, both audibly to my ears and when you know how to look at the graph correctly. But you know, this is a $520 IEM, and we're looking at a $39 2 dynamic driver IEM. So is that really fair? I don't know, but I'm just telling you what I hear, and at the end of the day, it's just about whether or not I would use this product over the variations. Honestly, it's just the last bit of resolution that's missing in the upper treble is by far the biggest issue on this earphone. It sounds excellent aside from that. Great bass, great soundstage, if that's what you're going for. Like, I can clearly hear frequencies missing on this earphone that are present on the variations and should be present in this song. So, you know, at the end of the day, it comes down to how much are you willing to pay for quality? You don't need to pay that much to get really good quality in earphones right now in 2023. But if you want the top quality, you have to pay significantly more than what it takes for really good. And that's how it is for pretty much all industries. It's like her voice. There's something wrong timbrally for sure. Like, I can hear the frequencies missing. It sounds too muddy, I guess, because the mid-range is too recessed. Like, this is a joke. This sounds so much higher resolution than the QKZ X HBB Khan in the upper treble and upper mid-range. It sounds like her vocals are at the correct level. I'm getting timbre. And the bass does sound more impactful. That is audible here. I just wish that the treble... That's the only... Oh my god. If the upper treble was actually good on this earphone, I would be recommending this like crazy, but as it is right now, it does not compete with the Moondrop variations. It sounds so high fidelity. The fidelity of the Moondrop variations is simply unbelievable, especially when the polarity is corrected. I'm almost in tears over how good this song sounds. Honestly, I don't know if this is even worth getting over the True Theory Zero just because this is lacking higher mids versus that. And honestly, though, the True Theory Zero actually looks lower resolution in the treble at that, which would be really terrible sounding, actually, considering... Well, if these comparisons are accurate, the True Theory Zero is unbelievably low resolution in the treble, actually, but at least it does have more high mids and less perceived mud. Yeah. I think I would still take the QKZ X HBB Khan if it does have this more resolution over the True Theory Zero, but I definitely would prefer the more present upper mids or more correct upper mids. The scoop does come across as low fidelity. It's just audibly veiled. And bass is not slamming as hard. Is this because it's not extending all the way? I don't know what exactly the reason is. This is just... I'm almost in tears over how terrible this sounds in the upper treble. God. It's just like killing the music. There are so many frequencies that are audibly missing, including the upper mid-range. The bass slam isn't the biggest deal in the world, but it's plasticky sounding, low resolution. And just to be clear, resolution in IEMs is entirely frequency response. I'm not making some bullshit up about technicalities. This is clearly audible in tone generator and visible in the frequency response graphs. And just to like give you a scale for what exactly this means, because maybe you might be thinking I'm being hard on it comparing it to a $500 IEM. If someone were to like take away my Moondrop variations and I had to listen to this for like a month or something, I really would not have a problem. It does sound very good for the most part. It just does not sound as good as this $520 IEM that I use every day. Like, I can jam to it, you can get used to it, but again, it's really annoying how frequencies are literally just missing though. It's sibilant, it's too piercing in the treble, in the lower treble. I don't know if the 11 kHz peak is what's audible, which I can clearly hear in tone generator. Bass is really not slamming as hard as it should here. I just want to hear 20 Hz to 20 kHz as high fidelity as possible, and this earphone is not letting me do that. Okay, so it comes down to what is your budget, okay? Because obviously, this is not competing against the Moondrop variations. I've made that very clear. If you want an IEM under $100 without EQ, passive, I can't think of an earphone that will sound better than the QKZ X HBB Khan. Definitively. Even $200, I'm not sure what is better than the QKZ X HBB Khan. Even $300, I don't know about $300 actually, but under $300, I really don't think that there's much. I mean, this is what, like, I don't even consider this a price thing. The variations is honestly just better than any earphone in the world currently, in my opinion. I haven't looked at my IEM ranking list in a while. Or my headphone ranking list in a while. Okay, so I see now. This earphone sounds better than the Soundpeats Free 2 Classic by a significant amount, but worse than the Moondrop Quarks DSP. And even though the Quarks DSP has a terrible phase response, I'd still take that any day over a worse frequency response in exchange for a better phase response. So honestly, yeah, without a doubt, this is the third best headphone I have ever heard. And, you know, look at this Odyssey CRBN. What is this, like a $4,000 electrostatic headphone, 2 out of 10. Like, all of this trash gets absolutely destroyed by this earphone. Okay, so there we have that. Third best earphone I've heard, but at the end of the day, a 7 out of 10 is a C grade. It just goes to show how terrible everything else is, and I guess for the price, it's the best passive earphone. If I were to pick between using the QKZ X HBB Khan and the Quarks DSP, any day, I would take the QKZ X HBB Khan, because I honestly hate using the Quarks DSP with the stupid noise floor, and it is true that the phase response is worse and that is audible, But again, if there was no noise floor, the Quark's DSP has better sound quality, I guess if you want to call it that, than the QKZ X HBB Khan, but you can literally get better by EQing the regular Quarks to the Quark's DSP. You won't even have the noise floor. Let's compare some more music. Vocals are too recessed. I don't know why it's not coming across as soundstage necessarily for me. Okay, so listening to the same song in the Moondrop Variations, there is no harshness. The vocal timbre is correct. The bass is more impactful. I do think that the sensitivity feels lower than the Moondrop Variations for some reason. I think they advertised it as high. So the QKZ X HBB Khan is rated as 117 dB plus or minus 3 dB, and that's per VRMS, I'm assuming. Variations is 118 dB VRMS. And, you know, QKZ is not actually giving that much about where the sensitivity spec is for. Who knows, maybe it's for the bass, I don't know, but plus or minus 3 dB, it could be 114 dB at the bass, which is honestly terrible. I don't know, it's probably fine, like, who cares? I would definitely be able to run this no problem off of Apple dongles, so it's not really worth complaining about. The treble instruments are just too harsh on this in proportion to the vocals. The vocals are too laid back, as you can see from this massive dip from 1.5 kilohertz to about 4 kilohertz, and this treble is just too boosted in proportion. This is not representative of the sound of speakers in a room. As far as tonal balance goes, we want a smooth downward slope. One thing I will say is that you will never hear any shout listening to this earphone, because the ear gain region is recessed by so much. I don't know, it's just so harsh in the upper treble. This is a very revealing song for that. Check by Girls' Generation. The female vocals are just not at the correct level. There's just no other way to say it. They're too far back in the mix, and then when higher harmonics come up, it's piercing. The question is, do I recommend the QKZ X HBB Khan? If you're too broke to afford the Moondrop Variations or any of the higher end The Audio IEMs, I think, and maybe the Let's Shore EJ07M, which all have pretty good treble extension, better bass extension, and more present higher mids, this is probably one of your best options. The Critical Project Red will probably be better than this, but I know for sure that the treble resolution on that is going to be crap as well. So if we go to HBB's graphing tool and we look at this earphone, okay, and let's say we match this at 6 kilohertz, we don't really see, like, I don't know, this treble. Okay, let's get this diffuse field on, and okay, let's get this off. The dip is so much greater on my measurement and QKZ's measurement than it is on HBB's measurement. I don't know if this graph is with spin fits or not, but with the stock tips, this dip is audibly more prominent than it is on HBB's graph. I don't know though, you know? Like, clearly the treble is completely missing for me after 11 kilohertz versus the variations. And yeah, the IEC 711 isn't the most accurate after 8 kilohertz anyways. But nevertheless, I am disappointed with this earphone because when I EQ'd my variations to the QKZ X HBB Khan based on his graph, I got more treble resolution. And also I EQ'd to this when I was using variations with inverted polarity, and that was definitely probably causing something, so. And I'm not going to actually try these with inverted polarity because that is lo-fi and has no excuse, honestly. I don't support inverted polarity earphones or headphones. Some guy was claiming that it's impossible to tell on open back planars like the HiFiMan HE400 SE, so I'll have that soon to test physically, I think Sunday. I just want to listen to a little bit more. Maybe there are some songs where this sounds fine. Vocals are too recessed, it is too veiled in the upper treble, and it is too harsh in the lower to mid treble. There's something weird about the timbre going on here. I don't know exactly what it is. Let's see. Okay. Maybe it's this bump at 400 hertz followed by, or sorry, preceded by this dip at around 200 hertz. There's like this weird thickness that randomly pops up in the vocals here. I don't know if that would still be so obvious with the vocals not being so recessed. Just want to make sure that's not in the recording. It sounds perfectly fine here. Yeah, okay. There's definitely serious tonal problems with the QKZ X HBB Khan when it comes to high fidelity sound. This is 100% not even close to a replacement for the Moontrap variations. The bass shaping is way too weird. There's no smoothness to it. The high mids are too recessed, vocals are too pushed back, and lower to mid treble is too boosted and harsh with super veiled upper treble after that. At the end of the day, it's the third best earphone I've heard, second best when it comes to no DSP crap or no EQ. I'm not going to say whether I really recommend this or not because that comes down to budget, but based on my ranking list, you can make that decision for yourself. I'd like to give a shout out to the ROFL Reaper, Tripped, Fofo, Castello 4141, Straight Up Bemchech, Moonalos, Ninja Coma 3, Hunter Bunge, Vsauce 4, Waytaker, and Sniver. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. Be sure to join the Discord link down in the description if you haven't. I'll see you guys next time. I'm out.